Welcome back to the channel, and today we are tackling a very influential arc among the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fandom, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind. Golden Wind is the 5th part in Hirohiko Araki's long-running franchise. It continues the Joestar family saga and follows the adventures of Giorno Giovanna, the son of Dio, and his allies as they take on the Italian underworld to fulfill Giorno's dream of becoming a mafia boss. We'll get into this later, but before we get any further, make sure to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss another update. Now, without further ado, let's get it. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind was created by Hirohiko Araki. The manga was first published by Shueisha and Weekly Shonen Jump from December 11, 1995 to April 5, 1999. The anime adaptation was produced by David Production and first aired in Japan on October 6, 2018, running until July 28, 2019, totaling 39 episodes. So let's get into the story. Alright, so there's this kid named Giorno Giovanna, and he lives in Italy. Italy is pizza, pasta, and apparently a bunch of very dangerous people who like to stand around flexing. We'll get to that part later. Giorno is not your average guy, however. He's got fancy blonde hair with donuts on top. Yes, donut-shaped hair lumps, very stylish. And even though he looks all fancy, he started off pretty rough. People did not treat him well when he was little. But one day, he helped a mysterious stranger, and this random act of kindness changed his entire life. Now he's got big dreams. Actually, they're super big. He wants to become a gangster. That's a fancy way of saying, I want to rule the mafia, but I also want to be a good guy. Which, you know, is kind of like saying, I want to be a nice robber. But hey, it's anime logic, so we roll with it. Turns out, Giorno's dad is Dio, who is basically an evil vampire from the earlier parts of the JoJo series. But Dio used the body of Jonathan Joestar. So, Giorno also has that Joestar blood. Confused yet? Just think of it like a big family tree with lots of weird branches. Anyway, Giorno's out there hustling on the streets of Naples. He picks pockets, rides on fancy boat rides, for free obviously, and he can also make frogs appear out of nowhere. And that's because he has a stand, an embodiment of his fighting spirit called Gold Experience, or sometimes Golden Wind. Stands are like ghostly superpowers. They can do weird stuff like punch you a million times, or bake you into a pizza if the plot demands it. Giorno's stand can give life to non-living things, turning random items into animals. So if he's bored, he can turn your shoes into a parrot, or your wallet into a tree frog. Don't question it, it's just normal in this show. Eventually, Koichi, dispatched by Jotaro Kujo, arrives in Italy to locate this mysterious young man. After witnessing Giorno's stand and a brief chase, Koichi realizes Giorno actually wants to do good, albeit in a sneaky mafia way. So Koichi calls Jotaro and says mission accomplished, then leaves. Best cameo ever. Soon after, Giorno has a showdown with Bruno Bucciarati, a slick dude in a white suit covered in zippers. He's also part of Passion, a sick-ass mafia group. Bruno's stand Sticky Fingers can unzip your limbs or even walls, turning you into a fancy handbag if he's in a bad mood. Giorno and Bruno briefly fight, but they sense each other's moral code. Turns out Bruno is also fed up with Passion's cruelty. He'd rather see the mafia used for justice than for terror. Giorno impresses Bruno by bamboozling him with a frog trick. From there, Bruno brings Giorno to meet Polpo, a giant Passion capo who can flatten himself like a balloon inside a prison cell. Polpo tests new recruits by handing them a lighter and saying, keep the flame lit for 24 hours. If it goes out and you try to relight it, his shadowy stand Black Sabbath pops up and kills you. Naturally, Giorno outsmarts the system using creative nonsense. He passes and earns Polpo's approval. However, Giorno quietly frames Polpo so that ironically, he ends up dying in a weird accident. Let's not forget this is Dio's son we're dealing with. With Polpo gone, a mountain of gold belongs to Bruno's team, which now includes Giorno. This dream team is a colorful crew of misfits including Leon Abacchio, a grumpy ex-cop who lost his job due to a dark mistake, with his stand Moody Blues, which can replay past events like a ghostly VCR. Guido Mista, he's cheerful but terrified of the number 4. His stand Sex Pistols is 6 tiny bullet gremlins that talk, eat pizza crumbs, and help him shoot the shit out of bad guys. Narancia Guerrega, a scrappy teen with zero math skills. His stand Aerosmith is a mini fighter plane that blasts baddies by tracking carbon dioxide. And Panicotta Fugo, a genius with anger issues. His stand Purple Haze unleashes a virus that melts anything, friend or foe. Not exactly easy to control. These 4 weirdos, plus Bucciarati, are now Giorno's new family. They do small errands for Passione, then they get a new assignment. Protect a special girl named Trish Una. She's the daughter of the big boss of Passione, a mysterious guy who no one's ever met. Everyone's like, we must protect her for unknown reasons. Meanwhile, all these assassins from within the gang itself are like, ooh, let's kidnap Trish, find out who her dad is, and take over the mafia. Because apparently everyone in the mafia wants a piece of that sweet, sweet power. However, other factions within Passione want Trish for themselves. They figure if they grab the boss's daughter, it might force him out of hiding, or they can just take control. They go to Pompeii, where Narancia tangles with Formaggio, who can shrink people using his stand Little Feet, leaving Narancia tiny in a giant city, while Aerosmith fires pea-sized bullets. Then, on a fancy bullet train to Florence, they fight the duo Prosciutto and Pesci. Prosciutto's The Grateful Dead rapidly ages passengers, turning them gray-haired and frail, while Pesci's Beach Boy hooks enemies like a creepy fishing rod through floors and walls. It's zany, but Bruno's squad squeaks out victories by combining their powers and a healthy dose of luck. Abbacchio's Moody Blues helps figure out hidden stand abilities by rewinding environments, and Mista's Sex Pistols keep deflecting bullets in weird angles. Narancia bombs entire cabins. It's chaos, but also it's kind of great teamwork. Eventually, the group arrives in Venice, expecting to hand Trish off to her father. But guess what? The boss, known later as Diavolo, tries to kill Trish in a spooky basement hideout. He's like, no one can know my identity, not even my own daughter. Bruno, outraged, rescues Trish, though he's critically injured in the process. Something magical involving Giorno's healing keeps Bruno moving even after he should be dead. Despite the miracle, Bruno realizes the boss is pure evil, so he rallies the squad to stand against him. Fugo, however, is terrified of the entire mafia's wrath and bails, disappearing from the storyline. Yeah, bro is cooked. The rest vow to protect Trish and stop Diavolo's reign of terror. So now, Team Bucciarati, minus Fugo, is on a mission. Find out the boss's real name, his face, and anything that can help them beat him. They learn from secret intel that Diavolo was born on the island of Sardinia, so they head there. Meanwhile, the boss is flipping out, like, oh no, my secret's getting out. Must kill them all. On Sardinia, poor Abbacchio is using Moody Blues to replay the boss's past, hoping to see his real face. Diavolo and his unstoppable stand, King Crimson, show up, and Abbacchio gets done in. But Abbacchio's last breath carves a stone face on the ground, so they can see what Diavolo actually looks like. That's a major clue, though it costs Abbacchio his life. Now, the squad is super ticked off, and they vow to avenge him. In Italy, rumors swirl that a special stand arrow can upgrade your stand to a new form called Requiem, and that might be the only way to beat King Crimson. They go to Rome chasing this arrow, and it turns out to be guarded by Jean-Pierre Polnareff, a veteran from the earlier JoJo adventures, now in a wheelchair after a brutal fight with Diavolo. He explains that the arrow can give a stand crazy new abilities, possibly powerful enough to outsmart time erasure. As they talk, Diavolo shows up again. He's got a split personality, occasionally acting as a timid alter ego, Doppio. Polnareff tries to use the arrow, but Diavolo stabs him. Polnareff's dying spirit then merges with Silver Chariot, creating Chariot Requiem, which goes wild and puts everyone to sleep. When they wake, they discover they've body swapped with each other. Chariot Requiem wanders around the city with the arrow, defending it from anyone who tries to grab it, and the entire group is in chaos. Bruno Bucciarati, who was basically living on borrowed time, senses his spirit is about to leave his body for good, but he's determined to help Giorno take down Diavolo. Diavolo tries to sneak up and erase time again, but the team finally finds a way to catch him off guard. They break Chariot Requiem's control by striking its weak point, a little bug behind its head. The arrow drops and Giorno manages to grab it. He evolves Gold Experience into Golden Experience Requiem, and this new form basically says, nah, time erasure means nothing to me, and beats the hell out of Diavolo. Mortally wounded, Diavolo falls into the river. Trish urges Giorno to look for him, but Giorno claims that it won't be necessary. Diavolo attempts to crawl into a tunnel, but is fatally stabbed by a homeless man who was under the influence of the drugs that Diavolo sells. Diavolo then keeps reliving different death scenarios as Giorno's stand threw him into an endless loop of death. With Diavolo finally defeated, Giorno and the others learn that despite his body being dead, Polnareff managed to keep his soul attached to this turtle, which Giorno decides to keep the arrow inside of for safekeeping. Mista leads the others back to the Colosseum to tend to Bucciarati's wounds, unaware of his death. In the end, we see Giorno in a spiffy black mafia suit, looking all badass. It's both cool and a bit scary, but hey, maybe he'll run the mafia in a kinder way. And that's the end of the story. Personally, I really enjoyed Golden Wind. I thought it was a cool, different take on the whole JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series, especially focusing on Dio's son. If anybody who's watched the previous series knows that we would probably expected his son to be pure evil, but flipping it that he was conceived with the body of Jonathan Joestar was really interesting to watch as a viewer. But the most important takeaway from this series is the ending theme song. Every time I close my eyes. Don't forget to hit the like button, shoot the subscribe button, and explode the bell icon so you never miss another video. Until next time, peace.